fading, knowledge fades away, but we rise together with Sensay today, capturing wisdom from hearts that inspire, building a future, lifting us higher. We're the dreamers, the seekers, the bold, turning stories to wisdom, forever to hold. Sensay, oh Sensay, we're transforming the night, knowledge to wisdom, with AI shining light. Together we soar, with our hearts unified. Sensay forever, our wisdom won't hide. From the spark of a mind to a legacy grand, we preserve every lesson across every land. With replicas of living, our voices will stay, empowering progress in every new day. We're the builders, the vision, the flame, carrying forward the wisdom we claim. Sensay, oh Sensay, we're transforming the night, knowledge to wisdom, with AI shining light. Together we soar, with our hearts unified. Sensay forever, our wisdom won't hide.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's community call. I am Dan Thomson, the founder and CEO at Sensay. For anyone joining us today for the first time, we do these weekly community calls where we introduce some of our team or advisors or partners, talk about our recent updates, and give you the opportunity to ask us anything you like. This could be anything about ourselves or about the project, or pretty much anything. It's literally a community call and AMA. So no matter where you're watching, if it's on Twitter or YouTube or LinkedIn, feel free to ask a question in the comments and we'll see them. Or if you want to pop us a question into Telegram or Discord, we can also see it from there as well. So do ask the questions throughout. We will either answer them during the call or we will answer them at the end. So for anyone also joining for the first time, Sensay is our platform where we create virtual humans, where we literally create a digital clone of yourself by capturing your memories, your stories, your messages, and making it extremely useful for you as a chatbot that can be applied as a widget for your website to help with sales or customer service. You can use it for Telegram or Discord as a bot for community management and engagement, for helping you to post on socials like Twitter. And it captures your voice, your style, your way of writing, and your knowledge base, and actually enables that knowledge to be available 24/7 in any language. The future of what we're doing can be applied to so many different verticals, different technologies, different industries, everything from gaming to healthcare to education, matchmaking, job hunting, networking. You can look at interactive NPCs for gaming. You can look at just this entire huge range of actual applications for creating essentially a second self of yourself or someone around you. And we'll go into some of those use cases usually, so I won't take up too much time today. We're going to bring up one usual face and one new one, and introduce you to Lars and Michele.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're ready for this week. I am sitting in the sunny Skagen, where I have to put a hat on. I'll blind everybody this week. I'm here visiting some old friends, but also talking actually with restaurants' potential of using our chat widget for their homepage with some old friends that I have from the hospitality industry, just because we have so many use cases for everything we have. But you all know me. I'm Lars, head of community, and today we are joined by Michael Di Cosmo, our lead dev.
Michael, Michele.
Hi.
Michele, I always mix around with the beautiful pronunciation and the really European one.
I go with all names. Also, Michele is a common one. Thank you for the introduction, Lars. And yes, I'm very excited to be joining this community call today. I'm the lead for the API part of Sensay. Some of you might know that the API is one of our main aspects of what we build. The principle behind this is that every feature we create on our projects, we try to make it as much as possible to be usable by everyone. So that's where the API comes in. And
yeah, so we're gonna have a bit of a chat about that, so you can introduce Michele properly, and just so that the community can get to know some of our lead developers a bit better. So yeah, I mean, Michele, for I guess as a bit more of a deeper introduction, like, you know, where are you from? What were you doing before? How did you come to join Sensay? And yeah, how have you enjoyed the experience so far?
Yeah, well, I am from Italy. The name might tell. Some people think I'm French, but no, I'm Italian. Although I have lived many years across Europe, spent a lot of time in London, in the UK. And my career, I guess that I've been interested in software development since I was a kid. I really like the fact that in software really is about two things. Software is about process and how you understand data information. And back in the days when I was very young, the art was very like craftsmanship. And through the years, it changed until it became what it is today. And who knows what's going to be the next step. But today, it's a lot about AI. So it's still about procedures and it's still about data, but in an automated way using artificial intelligence. So yeah, through my career, I've been interested in the newest trends and seeing how the industry was changing. And so it just made sense to join Sensay. And I've been part of the company, of the group, for a little bit more than 6 months. I joined in September last week, which is Sensay times feels forever. I don't know about you, Dan, but it does feel for me forever. 6 months here.
Yeah, when you say 6 months, I genuinely thought it's more than 6 months. September's like, you know, not like quite a long time.
Yeah, a little bit more.
No, yeah, 8, 9 months. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I thought you were going to say you've been with us for 1.5 years or something, because but definitely not that short. It feels longer. But yeah, it's just so many things happen. And then yeah, I mean, I guess with that, like, which during those 6 to 9 months, what are some of the I guess features and products you've been working on the back end for Sensay?
Yeah, well, the API didn't exist when I joined. Of course, we had an API, but the idea was not that external customers, everyone could just use it. The idea was, I think it was being developed in September, October, when we started realizing, well, people might want to do something slightly different than what we are doing with our AI wisdom engine. And so we started thinking, well, maybe we can allow some of the operations, some of the, like chat completions, to name the most basic one, to be done by everyone. And so we started developing our features not in specific projects, in specific products, but in the API, so that all of our products could use the API, but most importantly, everyone else could. So I think that has been the most important thing that I've been working on. It's very exciting because you suddenly add infinite dimensions to the same capability that you have already in products. And I think that's amazing. I really like working on this nitty-gritty, very like low-level back-end things.
And what, for any sort of projects out there, what are the, I guess, the maybe pros and cons or the benefits of actually building out an API on top of their technology?
Well, the obvious advantage is that everyone can do whatever they want with that. But the disadvantage is that it costs a lot of time, and you have to think about features not for a one product, but you have to think about how many different kind of people doing very different kind of things will want to use the data. So you have, in a way, like make it so generic, while at the same time making it very effective. So you have to always strike a balance. And every day almost we think, okay, this feature, is it a feature for a specific product, or is it something that should be released for everyone? And if it is released for everyone, how much should we invest in creating specific features for specific use cases, or how much should we instead focus on making the generic features super perfect, so that when people use it, they have a good experience? It's always a balancing exercise, and my experience so far is that there's not a correct answer. It's something we need to figure out every time, and sometimes you also have to change a little bit the strategy we chose.
Yeah, for sure. And you're right. This idea did come about because we realized that there are so many different applications for our technology, and we just don't have the time or the resources to do them all ourselves. And so by enabling the API would essentially have two main benefits to users and customers. On the one hand, enterprise clients would be able to tailor our software to their company and actually have it I guess implemented internally for any large organization. And for external builders and entrepreneurs who want to come up with some of these different verticals or features or just different use cases for essentially our wisdom engine, our knowledge base, they can use the API to build out an entirely separate front end and build out an entirely separate project on top of our technology stack. And that's that's one of the most exciting things I think we've done over the last year, definitely, is start working towards this, because it means that it doesn't limit us to just one or two use cases, but it also essentially opens it up to different people to come in and contribute to that idea or run with their own idea, or us to work with different organizations and partners and actually build on top of what we're doing and open up entire new markets that we may or may not even have realized ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, thinking about the last few weeks, one of the initiatives we ran was the hackathon, for example, and I think that really speaks about this thing that we're doing. The API is at the center of the hackathon, so that every participant can build on top of our wisdom engine. But I think also in these last few weeks, I've noticed something really exciting. We started shifting from just building the API, which is a little bit dry. It's just like JSON and data and dry operations that you do, to creating something a little bit more fun. We started thinking a little bit more about how would people actually be using our API, and how can we make their experience a little bit better. So, for example, one thing we did last week was to create a demo project. It's not like something super advanced, but it's something that it comes out of the box, and you can just plug it in the API. So suddenly we have one layer of abstraction over the API that we provide. And I think this is really exciting because it shows that the product is maturing a lot.
Yeah, no, it really is. And so I guess, it's not an easy thing to build anyway, but what are some of the biggest obstacles we've had to face while building this out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we have to mention that the API is not, the technical term is not a greenfield project, because while it is everything is new, we didn't have an existing API really, but we were building on top of features that were already present on our main website on www.sensay.io, as we say, and that means that we had to do a lot of thinking of how to migrate the existing functionalities, maintaining them, making them even more powerful, and abstracting them so that other people can use it. So that has been the biggest and time-consuming work, which is not something you would normally think, in my opinion, because you say, well, the feature is there, we just carry it over and just make it accessible to everyone. But it's not so straightforward. Think about authentication. Think about how do we recognize who can perform a certain operation or not. We want to make sure that people cannot steal data. And one thing is if you have only one website. One other thing is if you allow everyone to access all the data. So a lot of things like this. Yeah, and then I guess scalability is also is quite an important thing. One thing is if you have one kind of customer. One thing is if you have organizations, if you have groups of people or individuals. So yeah.
And we talked about obviously how that's now being applied through a hackathon that we have running on Dora Hacks, and you've been working quite closely with that because it relies quite heavily on the API. I mean, I guess we've got the link there for anyone who's curious to check it out. But would you just give an overview of what the hackathon's about?
Yeah. So this hackathon has a theme. The theme is EdTech. So the hackathon is about building anything that is using the AI wisdom of Sensay and in connection with education technology. Really, it is a way to explore how many innovative ideas you can come up with and bringing them into life. Where I come in is thinking together with the rest of my team, how can we create an API that would serve the hackathon so that you, when you join the hackathon, don't have to think about AI. You don't have to think about the wisdom, how to replicate a person, how to all of these things that it's on us. You can just start and develop the idea.
Yeah. And I mean, education is so broad as well. So that, I mean, there's so many different ways it can go, whether it's skills-based tutoring or education for like younger kids or adults, whether it's enabling, let's say, professors from top universities to be replicated and share them with pretty much everyone in the world. You can look at learning specific skills for, let's say, learning how to cook from Gordon Ramsay, or learning how to act or talk or speak. There's pretty much literally anything any aspect of learning that you could apply it to. You could even, I guess, kind of include things like having a city guide. So you could have Berlusconi as a guide for Italy, as for the tourism board. It still comes under, I mean, not the best ambassador, but still definitely a fun one. Or something like Einstein, or to walk you through a museum. This idea of education is so broad, and there's so many applications within education alone, which is why we kept the ed tech quite open as an opportunity. And I think there's going to be some good submissions in there, hopefully. I think what was the last count? We've had like 70 developers working on it, and is that about right?
And counting, something like that. Yeah, it's slightly above.
So yeah, really excited to see what actually comes out of that. But let's go back a little bit. So we, obviously I've met you a few times now in person as well, even though we're a fully remote team. One of the times we met up, it was with Marco, and we realized that you had known each other for quite some time. Like, Marco's our CTO, so you've known each other for a very, very long time. And obviously in that time, the way developers can code and the tools that they have available to them has changed significantly. And obviously, with massive changes very recently with using AI products out there. So it'd be great to really hear from you as a very good developer, what that change has been like, and how you've incorporated AI into your development workflow day to day now.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about this topic for forever, probably. When I started coding, I remember I didn't have a manual. I didn't know English, and everything is in English in software development. I remember the way that I learned how to code was I opened up my code editor and I was just typing words that I thought were English. And when they were changing color, it meant that they were existing in the language. And so I was just trying it out and figuring it out. So I was very much led by curiosity and exploring how that thing worked. So that's where I started. And then I went through, I really like being practical. So I always build stuff. And only later I joined university. I know that nowadays it's not really needed to do computer science at university to become a good developer. You can become one many other ways. But things have changed for sure. As I was saying before, it used to be a craftsmanship, in my opinion, or an engineering practice to some extent, and then it became more and more that you can just automate lots of it without really understanding sometimes what you're doing, but it just works, and that's really powerful. Just for context, of course, through my career, I was becoming more senior, so that was my experience. I started where software development was a craftsmanship kind of job, to now that I'm more experienced and I have the luck of being able to use AI tools. Like I use every day Claude Code or ChatGPT, and it's just really good, really good. One experience that I have is I try always to empathize with the junior developer who is starting coding now with these tools. I spend a lot of time guiding the AI into creating good code, and I'm wondering how, if I didn't have the experience that I have, and going through so many errors and having seen so many things that didn't work out so well, how would I know when the AI is going in the wrong direction? And I think sometimes maybe it doesn't matter. Like as I was a kid just writing random words, I think the attitude is the biggest differentiator. So I think that nowadays a junior developer probably wants to use AI as much as possible, but the interesting bit, I think, is understanding why some stuff works in the end, and so you learn by using AI, and that way you learn so much faster than just by. I remember so many hours spent in the night just like trying to make something work. With AI, you do the same thing, but in much less time. The important bit is the attitude, and that was true also when I was a kid. There were a lot of people also at university that were not really interested in learning with curiosity. They were just learning to get a degree and some money out of the job.
But do you not think that with that new capability, with the AI supporting the developer, and actually, I guess, developers who leverage AI, it would enable them to, I guess, write in more languages and actually develop, I guess, more than they would have been able to, or maybe even thought of themselves. And then they can, this whole, I guess, is what we're talking about, is this whole shift towards vibe coding and indie hacking on steroids, right? So, I personally, I think, there's a definite benefit to it to enable anyone to build that amount of code that would have otherwise taken the teams, for weeks to do. And also enabling like less technological people to be able to actually create things as well that they would have been stopped from doing just by their lack of knowledge of computer science. And with that, I think that there's a definite shift towards this creative capability of individuals and developers. And there are obviously risks. I mean, there's plenty of memes out there about vibe coding and going horribly wrong. As soon as something goes wrong, you don't know any code, so you don't know how to fix it. And I'm sure that is still a big problem as well for now. Maybe that will get fixed in the future. But having that ability for people to develop entire apps single-handedly now, whether or not they entirely use AI for it, or if they actually have some kind of insight as to how to do it, has to be a change for the good, right? It's got to be something that moves through. And with that, with those errors, means there's still room for people who understand the code and people who want to understand the code to help to fix things.
Yeah. I think it's personally, I think it's a positive thing. Yes, the profession is less gate kept, and more people can achieve what less people could do before. I think at the end of the day, I mean, all the risks that we're talking about, the ones that I usually are talked about, were risks also back in the days when a junior person thought, oh, wow. When you see some new technology, you're always excited, at least if you're like me, and you want to develop stuff, but you don't realize the things you do not know and the risks sometimes that you're taking. So I remember working with some developers back in the days, and they were introducing security issues without knowing that they were, because they never came across them. Same thing now, just everything is faster, which means you can learn, or you can create using other languages that would take you 1 week just to get a grasp of. You just vibe code and get something working. But as I said, like, I think the most important thing is handling the pace, which is much faster. So if you learn how to handle that, then you can be very effective and learn much faster than you used to.
Yeah. And any tips for any developers or aspiring developers out there, like which language they should learn, like how to get started, whether or not they need to go to university for it?
I don't think you need to go to university. I think it depends what you want to do and what your passion is, or where your curiosity lies. I train some developers, and I know that everyone is moved by different reasons. So it really depends. But definitely leverage AI. That comes without saying. Probably spend quite a bit of time with Claude AI, and I think maybe always ask AI and yourself, what are the other things that could be done to achieve the same result? So what are the other principles or ways of going with the problem? Because usually by asking that question, you start realizing the downsides and the benefits of one solution versus the other. So I think that is the thing that puts you in a place where you move quite fast from being not knowing nothing about software development to becoming a junior, and already pushing you a little bit to a medium level.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and we have a very relevant question on this as well. So, what language would you suggest a beginner to start with? Because I know we had a debate about this kind of yesterday, really, about like JavaScript versus like Python, and but obviously you're more a lot more about both than I do. So it's I guess better to ask you.
I mean, I used to define myself years ago as a polyglot when this question was very relevant. I think nowadays it's a bit less. Honestly, like probably the correct answer is TypeScript. That's one of the most common languages and a language that would allow you to do the most. Maybe Python would be a second choice. If you want to be more indie and specialized, probably jobs tend to pay a little bit more, but they're less out there, less available, harder to find is Ruby and things like that. But I think the most important thing is try to understand why a language works in that way. Because at the end of the day, languages are quite similar. Like when you understand the principles behind one, you can switch to other ones pretty fast, especially with AI. Nowadays, it's super fast. Yeah, there's a few categories maybe, but all of the main ones are the same. JavaScript, yeah, and probably more than JavaScript, TypeScript, of course, which is JavaScript on steroid in a way.
Have you done anything with like Solidity itself, or like blockchain development?
No, I don't have a lot of experience on that. That's something that I'm very curious about, and I would love to spend some time on.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Adam on the team who was on a call on one of these a few weeks ago. He's worked on Solidity and blockchain development for quite some time. But yeah, it is funny, isn't it? Because you learn certain language. I mean, it's like anything. It's certain skills, right? Everyone just assumes that if you are a software engineer, you can just magically, do all of these. But actually, there are specializations within that too. And you could learn, retrain and learn different languages. And you're probably right. They are essentially, built on top of other foundational languages. And then, they have their own nuances. But at the end of the day, yeah, and with AI, you could easily convert one into another. I mean, you like to do that. Well, I mean, that's all of the questions I have for now. I think we're going to bring up bring Lars back in, and we're going to, I guess, have a quick community update from Lars. See what's been going on recently.
Yeah, right now I think actually my camera burned down in the sun out here. It's bugging out for me. The sun was too hot in Skagen for once. So the community's actually been very nice. We just had a few quests going on, coming in and out. We continuously have quests coming into the community to engage on different platforms. What?
Someone's playing around with us today. Yes, I'll pick up where he left off there, and we can probably link to our Quest site as well. So for anyone who's joining in Sensay and wants to get more involved with what we do at Sensay, we have a Quest page at sensay.io/quests. This is a page we have on our site that enables anyone to actively participate, earn points, which will be able to be converted for Sensay tokens and swag. This essentially enables you to get involved in social media, help with marketing, help with business development, help with finding bugs and features, and getting more involved with some of our sort of up-to-date campaigns. So we announced a campaign this week to help create a few replicas that we need for a concept around an AI government, and so we put it out there to create high quality replicas based on certain characters. And actually, I'll probably demonstrate a couple of these shortly. And we had some huge amount of terrific responses, and it was all done through Quest platform with certain rewards and prizes for that. So if anyone is interested in being more involved in Sensay and they want to know how they can do it, that's a great place to start. And actually, someone who participated in that quest and did I think half of the winners from the quest for creating these high quality replicas has actually now come to work for us creating replicas, because she did such a good job, and that's actually a really great path to getting to work with us. It's just contributing to the project in those kind of ways. And actually, I'll pull a couple of these up because they were really good. So we had, we're building this concept of an AI government, right? This idea of pulling out some of the best political minds in history and creating an AI government for, let's say, an island. So we've got people, the head of state is someone like Marcus Aurelius. We've got the likes of like Winston Churchill and Sun Tzu on like military strategy. Then you have someone like Alexander Hamilton coming in to help with essentially finance minister. So someone who's a really strong character out of history and really famous for engineering one of the greatest financial systems of all time. And so we wanted to reward the people for creating replicas like this. And so 3 to highlight, and you can find them on the Sensay main replicas page. But we also have Wangari Maathai. So this is more about like ethics and justice, and so that's where this that's where Wangari character came through, and so it's great to have this one in there as well. And then I think the last one we're going to demonstrate today is Eleanor Roosevelt for human and civil rights. So again, really well created replica, really sort of good quality background. And this one in particular has obviously gone into like in-depth training, because they've got some of our hallucination checker tags up, which means like certain files have been uploaded and included in the actual training. And so you can check where any of the actual information comes from. And so this will be referenced from our training to show that it's actually accurate data based on the training. So it's great to see that people are actually starting to create some of these replicas, both for quests and not. I think we're seeing actually a huge increase in the number of replicas created every day, not just well, not just like because of quests, but also just in general. I think we're seeing like it ends up being like 20 to 40 a day at the moment, which is actually great. It's really starting to accelerate how many replicas and how many new users are coming onto our platform every single day organically. So it's always great to see. Lars, you made it back just in time.
I have a feeling that my computer is starting to burn down from all the overusage from working.
Yeah, working too hard. I just can't believe Skagen's actually warm. It's shocking.
Yeah, I think actually the marble table I'm sitting at actually burned out the computer a little bit. So all of a sudden it just chilled down completely and burned off.
So yeah, guys, what we'll do is we'll jump over to some questions. And just a reminder, if anyone does have any questions, feel free to ask them on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. We will see them and we'll bring up the questions here. If you're not on any of those channels, you're on Discord or Telegram, you can ask them there as well, and we will bring them in. So let's get started.
The lovely weekly questions. So,
There's lots coming through.
yeah, I cannot read that name, but are there any opportunities for community members to take on leadership roles or contribute within?
Take on leadership roles. I mean, you're welcome to have my job.
I thought Danbot already took that.
You know, yeah. You got stiff competition against the replicas. Yes, I mean, we encourage people to apply to work with us. We have our jobs listed on LinkedIn. But the best thing you can do as a community member is get involved in the chat, get involved in the conversation. Lars is always in the different channels, and I'm always watching, and we'll always pop a message in if needed. But yeah, anyone who's looking to work with us can either apply for one of the jobs we have listed on LinkedIn, or, like I said before, getting more proactively involved, joining quests, joining the community, and just participating in the events that we host regularly, or meeting up with any of the team. We have a very global team, so we have people all around the world, and I'm sure any of them would be happy to meet up with community members if they wanted to. So
it's
thanks
actually
for the
one
question.
of the things we love a lot is to actually meet a community member when we're out and about.
Yeah, so if anyone's in Budapest this weekend, come say hi. I'll be around. Or Germany next week for GitX, or Vancouver the week after.
So Crypto Taurus comes with what really differentiates Sensay from other AI models.
I mean, I've got my opinion. I've talked about this a lot, but Michele, maybe you want to have a crack at that one.
Well, I think for me the main difference is that generic models are built to be generic. What we are trying to do is try to replicate really wisdom, and that is not as easy as it might sound, because when you're talking to someone, they have unique traits, they have a unique way of explaining things, they have opinions that if you're talking to ChatGPT will tell you that you are right. An AI model that incorporates wisdom will not say you're right. It will have an opinion. It will come back to you with an answer that might be wrong, but it is right for that specific replicated person. So, and there's also stuff about personality and nuances. So it's really quite different. And of course, ChatGPT and other AI models like that, they are also made not only generic in terms of knowledge, but also in the way that they talk to you. So their views are quite tamed. They're made to please a little bit everyone, while a wisdom AI is different in that. They could take pretty strong opinions on some topics, because that's what humans do.
Like creating a natural discussion with a computer.
Yeah.
Like creating a what?
They'll even swear back at you, all sorts of bad stuff. No, yeah, exactly. So the thing that makes it really unique is that hyper personalization. If you ask ChatGPT for my favorite example is always saying, if you ask ChatGPT for a Mexican restaurant near you, sure, it would come up with a few good restaurants, and they'd be perfectly fine. They'd be probably even Mexican. But having the model like Sensay means that it actually applies your personalized preferences to that, and to the wisdom, the understanding of what you look for, because you might like super fancy Mexican restaurants, or maybe you just like a street truck on a corner and just have some street tacos. And it's that level of personalization to you that makes the answer a lot more useful to you as a user, instead of the generalist answer that you get from ChatGPT. And even when we have most of my emails are drafted, all my emails are drafted by my replica, and having that, if I did that through ChatGPT by itself, it would just throw out generalist nonsense. Whereas my emails are now written in my style, based on my knowledge base that's in my replica, and therefore gets written in the way that I would want them to be written, which is great. And it's actually incredible that how similar they are to the way I would write my emails if I had more time to write them in polite form rather than the 3 words I usually send when I've got 3 seconds to answer my emails. So having them pre-drafted is very, very handy. Next question.
So here we have from Mitch Hayden. Good day, Dana, Michele. Is there particular sector? It's like the French names and Italian names blocking me around.
Just commit to one way.
It was even more fun in Morocco. I kept calling him the wrong name as well. Is there any particular sector in market that said they could be the most beneficial to? Sorry, I'm still trying to hold off my laughter as well.
Oh, too funny. Yes, particularly sector that would be most beneficial to. I don't know what. I mean, we've got a list of like 50 different verticals. I don't know, Michele, is there any particular industry or vertical or feature that you think is most useful?
I think it's something we're still. There's so many applications, and what should be the first one, I think, is not so obvious. Personally, I like a lot the preserving knowledge from people who are going to pass away soon or that have passed away. I think that adds a lot of a human aspect. I think there is a good way to do it, and I think that is the most interesting to me. But that's me. I don't have all the market research that you guys might have.
Yeah, I think that's something that, is definitely one that's been on our radar for a long time. It actually was the starting reason for creating this, but it's going to take a while for us to really, get to that, to get to the quality that needs to be. But yeah, in terms of the list we've got like, AI boyfriends and girlfriends, doctors, judges and arbiters, lawyers. You can do replicas as abstract versions of books. You can have them replicas for brand ambassadors and influencer marketing. There's dementia and neurotech support, customer service and sales. You can look at grief tech and afterlife tech, like we're talking about there. Education, as we've talked about earlier today. Historical characters and guides. You can look at job hunting and tutors, like language tutors, and even creating entire marketing teams, creating entire development teams, personal coaching, and therapists, and even wargaming. So there's so many different ways this can be applied. And I think for us, one of the big use cases that we are moving towards for ourselves, obviously any of those verticals people can be building on top of Sensay using the API that we talked about. But one of the use cases we're really looking at right now is in any organization, usually offboarding of knowledge and people is handled very badly. The sort of training of replacements, someone leaving a company or retiring is often, there's no good way of capturing that knowledge about their clients, their teams, their projects. And Sensay can really help to actually make a big difference in that. So we're working towards that, to have this idea of knowledge transfer in the same way that's kind of like afterlife tech, but focus more on companies and large organizations, and actually really offering a huge amount of value to companies to make that knowledge not just capture it, but also make it interactive going forward. Because typically, most people in most organizations, when they leave a company, will do some kind of handover doc. Maybe they train someone, they just hand over their access and stuff, and it's not quite useful, really. Sometimes it can be overwhelming and no one ever really reads it. But if you had all of that knowledge base stored in something that you could just query, in a really simple interactive format, I think that becomes really, really powerful for each of those organizations and those individuals who are transitioning. So anyway, that's one we're looking at as a big opportunity for us soon. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. So good. Next questions.
So we have from Citel here. What future features are you most excited about that leverage the preservation first approach?
Go on, Michele. What are you most excited for?
Oh gosh, that's not an easy one.
Well, I can always very
yeah.
quickly.
Okay.
So we've got this concept of like human in the loop feedback training, right? So the idea of creating a basic replica and then instead of trying to think and brain dump everything into it, because that would be one way of doing it, but it's very hard to think of everything Instead, flipping that on its head, you can have a replica that when it gets asked something that it doesn't know, it would essentially ask its creator and through a text or a WhatsApp or an email. And then when you reply to it, that would go into the training as well as reply to the user. So you're still answering the questions you would be asked, but it's also updating the training of your replica as it goes. So that's, for me, is one of the big sort of changes to our current training system that I'm particularly looking forward to.
Oh yeah, I can imagine, especially when you think about Danbot many times. If he doesn't have the answer, you get the response, "Sorry, I do not know the answers to that question."
Yeah, but then it would text me saying, Danbot's been asked XYZ. What would you say? I reply. That forms part of the training. So the next time it gets asked that, it would have that information.
That's actually amazing. Instead of hallucinating it.
They very rarely hallucinates because it's quite well trained. But yes, instead of hallucinating or instead of guessing, which could be something that the user might want it to do or not.
So Loveland comes with: are there any plans to allow users to interact with or visualize past data transformation steps?
I don't really understand the question. Visualize past data transformation steps.
So like, for example, if you made something wrong, go back to see what you made wrong in your step before.
I mean, if it means like going back in the steps of like the conversation, we currently don't have that need that much. So no, I don't think we have any plan in the near future for that. Of course, we can change that if we see a need, but the nature of the conversations with our replicas is that it's very natural. So there has not been much need to go back in the conversation, if that's the meaning of the question.
And you can always see the training that you've put into it. So in the studio, when you create a replica, you have the ability to see anything it's trained on and edit anything that it's trained on. So hopefully one of those answers the question.
So click is
I know we had that one earlier.
That was the first one for
TypeScript is Sensay, yeah.
TypeScript all the way.
I was just thinking about let's just do Cobalt next time, right? So Crypto Chief, can you share success stories from Sensay's community?
What stories, Lars? Sorry,
I'm just gonna. So depends on what kind of success stories. Like we just had a competition last week with replica creation, where Dan, I know you're very impressed about some of the replicas that actually got created during this competition. Like a 3-day competition, we got 8 replicas out of it, and it was actually really quite developed replicas within a short period of time for historical figures.
Yeah, we talked about that already, but I mean, other success stories with the community. I mean, we've brought community members into the team before. We've paid out thousands, if not tens of thousands, to community members over the past year, just for participating in quests and monthly campaigns. So yeah, I mean, a huge amount of success stories and a huge amount of opportunity to get quite involved in what we're doing. So again, if you'd like to be a part of that, then go to our quest platform on our page and start participating.
Yeah, it helps
okay.
the token itself, the project, reach out, especially potential new clients. We also use the quest platform for is to get more clients to come in, see a product, and potentially use it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, one last question I think we've got time for.
So Crypto Chief comes in with: what are the biggest challenges Sensay faced, and how do you overcome them?
What are the biggest challenges we face? Well, I mean, the biggest one is obviously that we're building something completely new. There's no roadmap. There's no like obvious plan of how things can be done or should be done. where there's no been done before that we can just copy or adjust. So the biggest challenge really is in that. It's in this whole idea of having to figure it out as we go along. We end up building so many, incredible features and incredible, aspects of what we're building. And I think I've shared this before. I'm going to share it again as our kind of over a version of our brain map, right, of what actually goes into Sensay. And so there's a lot of aspects here that are unique to us. It's not like the LLM. So we basically have our studio, which is where we collect the information. We have our wisdom engine, which is what powers the replica. And then on top of that, you have the different integration, the integrations. So everything from to to the chatbots to social content generation. And then we're working towards some more agentic functions like managing bookings and calendar management, asset management, and summarization. And within all of this, it's a lot of aspects that go in. We think will be the best way of doing this, and we have to learn from that and adapt to that. And so when we look at what goes into the actual, not even just the data processing, but the way that knowledge is actually retrieved and how we process the memories, and depending on the situational awareness of the platform it's on and the user awareness, all of this is just way more than just the basic AI, which sits as one very small part of what we do. And so, when it comes to the challenges of what we're building, any one of those, small little bubbles on there could be its own project. In theory, it could be its own thing. And we're building this this incredible engine that can recreate humans. And there's a lot of aspects and details that go into that are just taking a lot of thought as to how to even start to approach them, let alone actually turning it into a reality. So it's the biggest challenge really is that it's building something that has not been done before, and there's no obvious right way or wrong way to do it. So we're learning very fast. And on top of that, you have all the usual business challenges that everyone else has as well. But that's the big one really, is just really staying, trying to stay focused and building something that we are figuring out as we go along. And we have a really talented team, and it's great to see that we are progressing towards that. And the quality of what we're putting together now is fantastic. But it's still a big task, and there's a big future for it. But it's going to take us a while to get there. So guys, I think, yeah, I'm sure there's individual challenges throughout the team, but I think for the company overall, that's probably the biggest challenge. On that very large note, I think that's probably all we've got time for today. Joining us, Lars, thank you very much for joining us as always. And for anyone who's find out more information about Sensay, do check us out. Create a replica at sensay.io, or find us on any social media channel at Ask Sensay, or you can find me at Sensay Dan on pretty much any social platform as well. So thank you all for watching, joining, and whether you're watching live or whether you're asking questions or whether you're watching later on. As always, we wouldn't be here without community support. So thank you for getting involved, and we will see you. Well, we won't see you next week. Next week, we have no community call because the week after we have our upcoming demo day, which is our spring showcase. We'll be demonstrating some of the biggest updates that we've been working on, and some of the most the biggest new product launches we have. So very excited for that. That's coming on the 29th of May, so just at the end of the month. So that will be the reason we don't have a community call next week. But you can always get in touch and ask any questions in our community channels on Telegram and Discord, and myself or Lars are always available to answer anything in there. So thank you everyone for joining, and have a good weekend.
Yeah, and if you're interested in software development, subscribe to our hackathon, grab Cloud Code, and start using our API.
Definitely. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Are you ready for your digital twin? Let's go back.
It's rewind time.
The birth of communication. The wonder of hearing a voice from miles away.
Hello. Just a minute, please.
Then, the IT revolution, connecting us not just by voice, but by data.
The world is at your fingertips.
The mobile revolution. We ventured into the world connected like never before. The smartphone era. More connected than ever, closer than ever, which all became a bit overwhelming. Too much information. Too many demands. Imagine if you had a helping hand. You, hundreds of you, teaching, scheduling, engaging, buying, selling, your digital AI replica. Helping you focus on what really matters.